And a big hello and a welcome to another edition of a World Gone Mad podcast, Season 1, Episode 24. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf, and I give my commentary on national and world news and politics. So let's jump right in. We need to talk about the debate. And regardless of what you're feeling this morning, hopefully this podcast episode can let you vent emotionally, intellectually, mentally. Hopefully I'll give you a little bit of that outlet. No matter how you feel right now, I'm not here to destroy somebody. I'm not here to praise somebody. I'm here because my podcast is unspun, unfiltered. I don't hold back. And if my listening audience doesn't appreciate that, then I failed in my abilities to convey to you what I do on my podcast. If you want me to lie, then stop my podcast now. If you want fake news, then stop my podcast now. If you want kumbaya and the sky is rosy, stop my podcast now. If you want gloom and doom, then please stop my podcast now. I'm going to try to give you an honest, thoughtful, and insightful opinion into what happened at the debate between President Biden and Donald Trump. And hopefully you, the listening audience, can appreciate that. If I recorded my podcast the night of the debate, I would have said that the debate was a train wreck. Now that it's several days later, and I've had time to digest what had happened, I'm going to be more focused with my feelings. 3 words about the debate. That was painful. That was painful to watch. There was a lot of feedback from a lot of sides about the debate, and it ranged from all extremes. My very good friend, when I texted him during the debate and asked him, "Hey, what did you think about that moment when Trump said this and Biden answered that?" And my friend texted back to me, I missed that. I had to walk out of the room to bang my head against the wall." Now, on my end, my girlfriend and I watched the debate from the start. Approximately 5 minutes into the debate, my girlfriend walked out of the room. She said as she was walking out of the room, "I can't watch this anymore. This hurts." The debate was painful to watch. Van Jones, journalist, pundit, commentator, said the same thing on a television panel following the debate. Same thing I'm saying. That was painful, he said. It was an incoherent night, and this was from Bob Woodward, respected journalist. Now, Biden's advocates, like the vice president, Gavin Newsom, among others, vigorously defended Biden after the debate. What else are they going to say? When VP Harris was pressed by Anderson Cooper on his show, she answered, "Yeah, he started slow, yes," virtually agitated about the question. What else are all of Biden's Democratic supporters going to say? My own Facebook members of the podcast had comments like, "He had a cold, hoarse voice, etc. You don't do well when you have a cold." Another person wrote, "You can't debate a liar." "It's the fault of the moderators," another person texted. "They should have jumped in to help." No, they really shouldn't have. It's up to President Biden. It's called a debate. And the moderators are supposed to be impartial as much as we wanted them to help. Other comments on other posts in other Facebook groups wrote, "It's just one night. Trump is a liar and everyone sees that. The media is focusing on the wrong thing about Biden's performance." Let's be honest. With all the lies that Trump spit from his mouth that night, any other quality debater on his game would have obliterated Donald Trump during the debate. I'm asking all the listeners to please listen. It's not about Trump the liar versus Biden the nice man, or look what Biden's done in the last 3.5 years. We all know these things. A debate is to show that I'm presidential and the other guy is not. A debate is to show the best of yourself at that moment in time, whether it be an hour or 90 minutes. That's what a debate is about. It's about optics. Remember the Nixon versus Kennedy debate, for those of you old enough to remember that or have watched that in reruns on TV or the internet? Nixon, if you recall, was sweating, looked uncomfortable, had that 5 o'clock shadow like he hadn't shaved for several days. And being that a debate is a media event, that played poorly in Nixon's performance. In other words, optics. How about Governor Perry not being able to name the 3 branches of government during his debate? That disqualified him for even being considered as any type of frontrunner during the debate. Optics. So yes, the debate between President Biden and Trump matters. We could spin it about, well, it's hard to debate a liar. He had a cold. It was an off night. He didn't get a lot of sleep. You can't deal with someone who's doing the special technique to throw lies at you and it throws you off your game. The reality is, Joe Biden looked bad. And yes, at the rally the next morning in North Carolina, Biden looked fantastic, sounded like his old self. But he was using a teleprompter, and that's documented. And again, it doesn't mean I hate Joe Biden. It doesn't mean I don't want to vote for Joe Biden. Doesn't mean I think it's okay to excuse what Donald the liar said. But that was not the takeaway from the debate. And everyone needs to be honest with themselves. Joe Biden looked bad. And it didn't help his case. And it didn't help the Democrats before this coming election. And my question is to everyone listening, all the Wolfpack listeners, how long is this going to last? The clock is ticking. And the next major misstep, if there is one by Joe Biden, in performance is important. Any freezing on the campaign trail, any problems that come up with his mental acuity or abilities matter. It doesn't invalidate him as a man or that he cares about the country or about what he did for us for the past 3.5 years. But optics matter. In the headlines recently, the New York Times editorial board calls for Biden to leave the race. And in the headlines just today, NATO and Europe found Biden's debate performance alarming. Those concerns, to be clear, are not about whether or not Biden is fit to make decisions. They're not worried that he will implement dangerous policies or take dramatic actions internationally. Always a factor when talking about the person in charge of the world's most powerful armed forces, a nuclear arsenal, and the largest economy. The concerns that America's allies have are that the most powerful country on earth cannot provide the one thing they most want: stability. Look, removing a candidate this late in the electoral cycle, diplomats fear, could undermine the whole process. It could allow adversaries like China and Russia to lash out at the U.S. democratic system, making it look weak in comparison to their autocracies where strongmen grip power tightly. And just at the recent donor event, after the debate to raise more money for Joe Biden, another Democratic donor was more blunt about the state of play in the party's choices. "I don't think Biden is going anywhere," the donor told CNN. "This is the old horse we've got, and we need to ride him till he's ready for the glue factory." My question is for everyone listening: Did we just reach that moment? Is it time to change horses? So I'm at a moment in time, and my listeners should be in the same moment in time, that the next few weeks with polls will determine where we actually stand. So this next few weeks media cycle, as it goes through, and if during that cycle it shows Biden has dropped significantly in the polls against Donald Trump, then we need to do something. As of today, one poll came out, and it's the CBS YouGov poll right after the debate. It asked if Joe Biden has the mental capacity to be president, and should he be running for president as the nominee. 72% of registered voters said no. He does not have the mental capacity. And that's only a few days after the debate, people. Right now, there is no mechanism to replace Joe Biden as the nominee. None. It's all in President Biden's hands to decide if he needs to step down. And what would happen if Biden drops out before the convention? Well, the party is in President Biden's hands, for better or worse, a Democratic senator told CNN, speaking on condition of privacy to avoid disrespecting the president or alienating the campaign. He deserves our respect and space to reach any decision. The absence of an heir apparent to Biden, who could satisfy the party's perpetually warring factions while quickly bringing together competing donor networks, is another significant hurdle for those pushing for immediate action. A true succession plan does not exist, a senior Democratic advisor to the Biden campaign told CNN this past Saturday. That's what makes all of this not just heartbreaking, but very problematic. Democrats are conducting new polls and research throughout the weekend into this week and early later in the week in an effort to gain a better understanding of the political fallout, particularly in key contests that will determine whether the party can win back its House majority and maintain its narrow control of the Senate. How would a nominee be chosen on the floor of the convention, actually? Well, on the first ballot, a winning nominee would need to secure the votes of a majority of Democrats, roughly 4,000 pledged Democrats. If no candidate won a majority on the first ballot, Democrats would continue on a second ballot, in which the so-called superdelegates, about 700 of them, would have an opportunity to vote. Superdelegates are mostly senior Democratic Party leaders, and they would go to the convention not pledged to any candidate. So with the roughly 700 of these superdelegates added to the voting pool, the winning candidate would then need to secure about 2,300 delegates to capture the nomination. So this is where we find ourselves, waiting to see if any more problems happen with Joe's so-called, quote, performances, end quote, and any polling coming up. What do you think? How do you feel? And you need to be deadly honest with yourself. Not spin, not make excuses, but truthful. Think about the following things that have happened since the debate in this context. When we have a loved one, a husband, a wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, and they get older, and they have this type of moment in their life, we do the same thing. Oh, she or he had a bad day. It's okay. She'll get better. But we hurt. And we feel. And we care. And most of all, deep down, we know that something's wrong. And we feel helpless. And all we can do is stand by and give support. But deep down, we know things are not getting better. They're getting worse. Joe Biden is 81. That's reality. He may have good days. He may have bad days. But the fact of the matter is, he's not getting younger. So the next few weeks or months are going to be significant. You have my phone number. I'm going to repeat it. 833-399-9653. Use it. I pay a lot of money for that phone number and the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service. Leave your opinion. I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I'm going to give my commentary on the Supreme Court immunity decision that just came down.
This is a world gone mad. This is a world gone mad.
You're listening to A World Gone Mad. Thank you. And you could reach me by sending me an email. And the email is aworldgonemadpodcast, aworldgonemadpodcast@gmail.com. Leave your first name in the email, your age, your location, where you're, listening to us from, what app, etc., and any comments you have. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe. That way I can let you know when the new episode goes online. It's automatic and it's free. Also, if you can review, rate, rank the show on the app you're listening from, that helps me tremendously. I thank you for listening, whether you just joined us for the first time or have been listening for a while. I appreciate that. And now, back to the show.
This is a world gone mad. This is a world gone mad.
And back I am. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf, your host of the podcast. What a hell of a week it's been. Right, people? Wow. All right, let's talk about what we have all been waiting for. The Supreme Court ruling on Donald Trump requesting immunity. One major takeaway is this could have been decided months ago. And it could have been decided very succinctly and precisely and not have taken this long to do. So for those of you that missed it, the Supreme Court ruled today that Donald Trump may claim immunity from criminal prosecution for some of the actions he took as president in a decision that will likely further delay the trial on the federal election subversion charges against him. The decision was 6-3, with, of course, the liberals in dissent. This decision rejects a decision from a federal appeals court in February that Donald Trump enjoyed no immunity for alleged crimes he committed during the presidency to reverse the 2020 election results. Today's decision says presidents have immunity for official acts, but not all acts are official, and lower courts must decide which acts are official and which acts are unofficial. Trump, of course, called the decision a victory. Now, this sets a dangerous precedent for the future of our nation. No one, including the twice impeached former president, should be above the law. The Constitution is sacredly obligatory upon all. That's what makes America special. The president is not above the law, Chief Justice Roberts wrote, for the conservative majority, but Congress may not criminalize the president's conduct in carrying out the responsibilities of the executive branch under the Constitution. And here's a big one that's going to spin your eyes and your head. Also, evidence cannot be used when a president who is doing official acts to find him guilty when he's doing unofficial acts. Huh? What? Yeah, it's that convoluted, and that's how nuanced and incredibly deep the conservatives made this opinion. You can't use evidence from things you find during presidents' official acts to prove your case in an unofficial capacity when he breaks the law. Tweets, emails, conversations. So in other words, certain evidence can be thrown out. Wow. How does this affect all the cases? Well, most likely they're delayed. Judge Chutkan will hold a hearing on what's an official act and what's not an official act. As far as a trial happening in the documents case, probably doubtful. Remember the Star Trek episode when they were playing three-dimensional chess during the time of the gangsters in Chicago, if you remember that episode. And the point was, Spock was explaining the rules, and so was Dr. McCoy and everyone else. Well, if it's Tuesday, you can't do this, but if you're over 6 feet tall, you could do that. But if it's morning versus night, then that is superseded by the previous comment. Yeah, we have a dilemma here, people. And it means Jack Smith and other prosecuting teams will have to throw out certain evidence that can be used against Donald. This stinks, and it changes everything dramatically. And instead of saying a president is not above the law, he isn't, but he can do these things, but not at this point, depending on when it happens, yada, yada, yada. So, this is where we stand. A huge win for Donald Trump with the debate, a huge win with the immunity ruling, and either this November election will be a monumental defeat for democracy or an incredible triumph. Time's going to tell, won't it? Don't forget the Facebook group for the podcast, A World Gone Mad Podcast on Facebook. Join, become a part of this great people, community that are like you. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. There's going to be another episode coming up in the week to follow. And until that time, everyone, we need it now. Stay hopeful.